I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, so in this class, what we'll discuss about VPC. Okay, we'll discuss about VPC. VPC is actually a very important topic. I have saved it for last because only when you know about all the servers and services, um, you'll know about the VPC. I mean, you'll have like better understanding about VPC. So, can anyone say what is VPC?
Virtual private cloud.
Yeah, VPC is virtual private cloud. Okay, so VPC is nothing but what? VPC is nothing but
Virtual private cloud.
yeah, virtual private cloud. Okay, so what is virtual private cloud? It sounds very similar, right? Initially in first class, second class, we were talking about something. It sounds very similar to some other topic. What is the topic? Can anyone say what is the topic? It's very much similar to VPN,
VPN.
right? Very much similar to VPN. So what is VPC and what is VPN? Okay, initially we have spoke about there is an organization. Okay, there is an organization, and in the organization, what they will do, they will have a VPN, which is virtual private network. In that network only, all the instances or all the servers or all the computers will be there. If you wanted to connect to this, you cannot connect. I told you, right? Only if you entered the building, then only you can connect to this. If not, you cannot. If you have to connect to any of these missions from when you are working from home, what you need to do, you need to connect to VPN. This VPN, whatever VPN is there, first you will be connecting to this VPN by going by doing RSA token and all that stuff. And what you will do, it will go inside, your connection will go in and access all these instances. In the same way, even in AWS cloud, right? Even in AWS cloud, what it is it is VPC. Okay, VPC, we call it as VPC. That means virtual private cloud. This is the cloud, whatever cloud we are creating. So whatever cloud, virtual private cloud or virtual the network we are creating, all your instances will be created in this only. It won't go outside of it. In that way, in an account, you can create as many VPCs as you like. You can create VPC1, VPC2, VPC3, VPC4 in that way. But just think, if you're creating VPC1, VPC2, VPC3, there won't be any connectivity between this instance and the other instance which you have created in the other VPC. That is the main reason why you were not able to connect to the VPC, to the instances on other region. When you go to other region, even the VPC will be changed. Okay, that's a different virtual private cloud. If you go to the different region, so Deepka was trying to add a load balancer in it. That is the main reason why that didn't work, because it will have its own network. It will have its own network. Okay, virtual private cloud in the same region. You can create as many as VPCs, and it won't be having any connections. If you want that connection, it can be done, and that is called VPC peering. Okay, they'll do peering. That means all the instances in this will have connectivity to these things. So that is VPC peering. Okay, and peering can be done like this. If you have something like this, the VPC peering cannot. If you connect again, you do VPC peering, you won't have connectivity between this one and this one. Again, you need to have connectivity with this and this one. This again, we need to do VP, which is VPC peering. Okay, you need to do VP peering. So this is how you need to do, and this is very expensive. When you do this one, it is very expensive. Instead of that, you can use a gateway. You can use a gateway which can connect to all these three things. Like, you can create a gateway, and it's called as transit gateway, and you can actually connect to all these VPCs differently together. So that means this will have connectivity to this will have connectivity to this will have connectivity to this and this both. So this is transit gateway. Okay, so this is transit gateway. So again, for you to understand exactly what this VPC is and how it is used, for you, I'll let you make it more clear. Okay, this is a VPC. Okay, VPC means nothing but very much similar to your home. Okay, excuse me. So VPC is nothing but, example, we can imagine VPC as a house. Okay, our house. Okay, what we'll do in our house, we'll have we'll close the doors. Okay, whatever doors are closed, that means whatever we are putting here, we can call it as NaCl. Okay, and you can do it as S. Okay, NaCls. Okay, these are nothing but very much similar to security groups. We have created security groups, right? What we have done, excuse excuse me. So when we are creating security groups, what we have done, we have opened ports and IPs, right? Right? Yes or no? Did you guys create security groups? When we are creating EC2 instances, we were creating security groups, right?
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So we are adding ports and we are adding IPs. This is the whatever security groups we are creating around the EC2 instances. In the same way, if you do that around the VPC, those are called NaCls. But what you need to do is NaCls should be more, uh, you know, uh, 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 um, um, it shouldn't be like very much specific to each port, like 22 to like 80, something like that. Like example, here we are giving single IP. Here we need to give like range of these things. So it should be like more discrete thing, like on top level type of stuff. So that is NaCl. It is very much similar. So how we have defined security groups, we said whom to go and when to go. I told you an example, right? If you go into an office, they'll see a badge, your badge. Okay, okay, you are allowed. In the same way, in security groups, we need to give port 22 and IP, this IP. So if this IP wanted to go through port 22, we need to whitelist this IP. So in the same way, you will be doing for this one also. Whatever will be going into this network should be whitelisted. If not, network won't go in. Okay, this is NACLs. After inside the VPC, we will be creating subnets. Okay, inside the VPC, we get creating the subnets. Okay, now these subnets can be like subnet 1. Subnet 1 might be app subnet. Okay, subnet 2, subnet 3, app subnet, data subnet, or web subnet. So like that, you can create 3 different types of subnets. So what you're doing exactly in the VPC itself, right? What is VPC again? VPC is our home. Okay. In our home only, we will create rooms. These are the rooms, right? Whatever rooms we are created, it is this thing. So this completely is your SFT. Okay. Example, in your home is 1000 SFT. Okay. 1000 SFT. One more zero. Okay, your house is 1000 SFT and you have divided your house. Okay, this data subnet is like 250 subnet. Okay, 250 SFT. This one is 250 SFT and this one is 250 SFT. In this is data subnet. Data subnet is very much secure, so you have closed it. That means in this subnet you are not allowing anything. It's a private subnet. It's a public subnet. Okay, the NACLs can be applied directly on these subnets also. Okay, so inside these subnets you will be creating EC2 instances or any of the servers. Okay, so just to overview all this stuff, first what we will create, first thing on first layer, what it is VPC, right? VPC. Inside VPC we will have subnets. Inside subnets you will have EC2 instance. Subnets can also be defined as the availability zones. All the availability zones will be, you can also say that as subnets. Okay, so these are the EC2 instances. Now again, now we are saying like, okay, there is a VPC, we are dividing this into the rooms and that rooms are called subnets. We spoke in that way. So here normally I have said this is happening. So you might think like, okay, what are rooms? How you divide? What is this? This is a software. It's not an hardware, right? How you divide this? See, in the VPC will be some range. Okay, example like 10 dot 20 dot 30 dot some 16 20. See, previously I told you, when you are adding an IP, 10 dot 20 dot 30 dot 40 slash 32 means that is specific IP. But if you are changing this to 16 or 8 or something, some other value, the range of this IP will be too much, like it will increase. Okay, for you don't need to go too much into it. This is the networking stuff. But if you wanted to know much, you can just see IP range consider. Okay, you can also go to the IP range calculator also. Okay, what it will do is it will say, when you put example, we are taking this one only. Okay, 17 20 27 0. Okay, and if you see, uh, if I'll put this in and if I'll say slash 32, it will say how many IPs will be there. It's only one IP range. You can see one IP range. But if I change it to 31, okay, how many? It is 2. Here only it is saying, okay, here only it is saying, see, if you put slash 8 slash 18, it is 16 34 384 IPs. Okay, you can ask me, how can you get 16 384? Okay, don't go this until here. Let's see 4 only. Okay, when we say 30, this IP will have 4 IPs. What are those 4 IPs? You can see here. See, what is the range? It says 174, 125, 227, 0, 2, 174, 225, 227, 3. That means the last digit will be 1, 2, 3, right? So those are the, so 1, 2, 3. That's only 3, right? Why did we get 4? Zero. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, correct. 0, 1, 2, 3 is 4 IPs, right? 0, 1, 2, 3 is 4 IPs here. So in the same way, if you change it to 129, see the IP range will be changed to 0 to 7. That means the last things are changing. Okay. And what is the maximum it will go? It will go to 227 or 225, I think. 220, 220 something. Let us see. What is the max it will go? 63. Okay. 225. Yeah, 225 is the maximum. If you can see, after when you are going increasing more, this, see here, first only this thing used to be changed. Now even this is also changing. You can see, right? 224.00. It was 227 before. By increasing the IPs, how many IPs are available? That is decreasing. See, now it is going. But the 74 125 will be constant. Only these two will be changed. Changed means that much of range it will have. It is saying that from 74 125 192.02, 74 125 255 255. That means those are 116,384 IPs are there in that range when you select /18. Okay, now let's take this one only. Okay, not we don't put 18. Okay, let's take it as a um, okay, we'll take this one 29. Okay, let's take a VPC with /29. Okay, /29. Here we are adding 10 dot 20 dot 30 or something, and then it's 29. That means how many? 8 IPs are there. These 8 IPs we are dividing it 2 IPs here, 2 IPs here, 2 IPs here, and 2 IPs here. That is how we are dividing the subnets. Okay. When I'm saying subnets are divided, the VPC in VPC itself, the subnets are divided. It is by IP. Previously, we have discussed like SFT, right? That is just for you an example. Like if home is 1000 SFT, you will divide each into 250 SFT. In the same way, here there are 8 IPs. You put 2 IPs in each of it. Basically a VPC will have like so many IPs. Okay, and now just remember, okay, what are these IPs? Where will it come from? Okay, where are it used? Example, when you are creating an EC2 instance, you are getting an IP, right? That IP is this IP only. If there are only 2 IPs in this subnet, you can only create 2 instances here. After that, it will say there are no IPs for you to attach it to your EC2 instance. So that means whatever services or whatever infrastructure you are creating, every infrastructure or everything should have an IP. That IP will be taken only from the subnet what you have chosen. Okay, let's come back to your, go back to your work, go back to your console and see, select any EC2 instance and see which you can see. See, you will get VPC and subnet both here. So you have selected this VPC and this subnet, and whatever IP you get here, right? Whatever IP you're getting here, it is coming from this subnet only. Understood? Example, in this subnet there are three IPs. So one of the IPs is allocated to this server. So that is why we use this network stuff. To show you more precisely, you can if you want to go to VPCs, go here and search for VPC, and if you click this, you will come here only. This is the panel, and you see your VPC. You can see there are two VPCs here. Okay, see here we have added Vertiv G10.0.0.16. Okay, let me show you. 10.0.0.16 means how many IPs are there. Okay. Either you can go to calculator, or here only it will show somewhere that this many IPs are there. No, it didn't show anywhere. Okay, I think shaders will show you. No, okay. In the subnet calculator, we will put it control A, control V, and 16, right? We will go for what is where is the 16? 16. See, for 16, how many IPs are there? 65,536 IPs are there. So that big because you might create hundreds of servers, thousands of servers. You need a lot of IPs. Not only for servers, even for load balancer backend, there will be IP. Whatever DNS you're getting, for every this thing you need an IP for it. Okay, so a VPC, the VPC which we have created. So this is the old. See, whenever you create the instance, they'll give a default VPC. So you can all every one of you can ask me that, okay, we didn't create any VPC, but we have created EC2. How did we create? So AWS will give you a default VPC to use. So in that only you're creating. If you don't want that, you can create a new VPC for yourself. And this is free, completely free. VPCs on networks, security groups, all things are free. Okay. Uh, when you create your VPC, you can create it this many IPs. Okay. If I'll open it, you can see this one. And when you see the subnet, if you can see the subnet, so this is the VPC, right? The second VPC, which we have. Okay, let us see the number so that we can remember. Okay, so the VPC which we created is this one. Okay, let me copy this VPC ID, and we will select in the subnets. So you will have this many subnets, right? Now I'll just filter it with whatever VPC in this one have. We need those VPCs only. So these are the VPCs. What I've done, I have created what to VA public, what to be public, what to VA private, what to be private. So 4 subnets I have created. Very much similar to what I have showed in you this diagram. In this total 65K sub IPs are there, and I have divided it into 4 parts. And let's see how we have created. Okay, first one what I gave 10.32.0.20. Okay, how many IPs are that? That's 20. How many? 4,096. Okay, right? 4,096. How many I have created here? 4,000, 4K here I have created. Okay, still I have so many, right? So next what I did, next 20, this is also 4K, this is also 4K, this is also 4K. So in the 65,000, I mean I have used only this much. That means it will come like this. Okay, I have very big place, but how I used it is I have also left some space for veranda. Okay, or balcony. I just kept created 4 of this thing, and in this whole thing is 65K IP, and I've used only 4K, 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 and I left remaining all this place, so that I can create a new subnet later on, or I can just leave it, or I can use it for other things. Okay, though all those IPs are unused. Okay, so 4K IPs. So, and if you can see this one, 10.32.0, right? So this is which subnet? 32.0. This is when what to be public. Whenever I select what to be public, okay, to create an EC2 instance or to create any other stuff, the IP I get to that instance will be between this one only. It will be in between this. You cannot choose it, but it will be in between this. You understood the concept, right? Just the concept. So when you create an EC2 instance, you will be asked for which VPC you want to put that instance in and which subnet you want to put that instance in. It will ask you basically. Till now you are leaving it as default because it's already there. But if you can see, when I try to launch an EC2 instance, what is it doing? It's asking me for a Linux AMI, and then it's asking me for instance type, and then what is it's asking? It's asking instance detail. In the instance detail in the network, if you can see clearly, we are able to see this one, right? This thing. Now I'll select the Vertiv subnet. Okay, and I'll select Vertiv B public. Okay, that is what we have saw on that, right? Vertiv B public is where I get the 4K things are there, and it will be between 10.0.32.0 to 10.0.47. So from 32.0 or to 47.225, only in this between only it will be there. Let's see. Let's test it. Okay, I selected that subnet. And if you can see, when you select the subnets also, you can see US East 1B, US East 1A. I told you, right, subnets are also availability zones. Initially, I told you, right, in region, you will see only US East 1. But only in availability zones, you will see US East 1A, US East 1B like that. So these subnets you can create in the subnets also. Okay. Now, next adding the storage. I'll create a storage is there. Okay. And next I'll add tags and I'll do I'll just name and we'll put IP test. Okay. And I'm saying that it is launch the instance. I'm asking it to launch the instance, and it's launching an instance for us. Okay. So this instance is created. Once we go into this instance and we can see IP test, right? If you select it, see what is the IP 10.0.45.66. Let's see if you can see. See, it's in between, right? It says so 45 is in between, right? 32 to 47. So that means in between 45 is there, and whatever the next one is 66. 66 is also in between only, in between this range. So whatever IP will come, it will come in this between only. So for you, if you wanted to do a quick test, what you can create is you can create a VPC with very small stuff, like just select something like some IP, give some IP and select something like for /30. Okay, then you will get only 4 IPs. Okay, create 4 subnets or 2 subnets. Just 2 subnets are enough. 2 subnets, put 2 IPs here. That means /31 and for other one or /31. It will create 2 here and 2 in the other subnet. Then try to create EC2 instances and try to create 3 EC2 instances. And on the third instance, you will see the IPs are gone. That means there are no IPs because already 2 you have used. You have only selected 2 of them. So the usage of the IPs will be from the subnets. And what are subnets? Those are part of the VPCs, right? VPC is virtual private cloud. In virtual private cloud, we have subnets, and in subnets, we have EC2 instances and other services. Okay, so this is the network around our infrastructure. This is how it will work. You're clear, right? VPC topic. We are going to the next topic. Before we go to the next topic, let me know if you have any questions on it. Any questions?
No, Srikanth, it's clear.
Yeah. So I want you guys to create a VPC. I told you, right? Small VPC with very small number, it's like /20 or 30, not 20, 30, /30, and create subnets with smaller range, and then try to create EC2 instance, and then you can also know that you can see the IP range, right? It should be like 30 from 37 to 38. So from 37 to 37, 38, yeah, 37 to 38, two IPs only, right? So either one of the IP should be allocated to the EC2 instance you have created. So you'll know exactly which IP the instance is using. So that is the network around your EC2 instance. Okay, understood? Understood, right?
Yes, Srikanth.
Yeah. So the next topic, what we are going to do is RDS. What is RDS?
Is it database? Relational database?
Yeah, RDS is relational database in AWS. So the database services are called RDS. Okay, in AWS database services. If you can search RDS, it will give you managed relational database services. So all the relational databases will be here. There are more databases which AWS is providing us, but relational databases will be here. So if you can see, so this is the uh, console here. So it is very similar to EC2 instance how we are creating, but what it is doing is, so the regular database, see, databases are not a different, you know, mm, databases are not different than servers. Okay, database is also nothing but in server they will install some database software like Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, those things, and then in that they'll put data. Okay, so the regular server and the database won't have any difference in the infrastructure side. Okay, internally they will do the installation, and then they will do some racking, and they will do some backups, and they'll do all the networking around it. So that is what they do. Okay, when we are talking about database, you can also install the database in our EC2 instance. Okay, if you have installed the database in your EC2 instance, what you will have to do, you will have to maintain the HA, like how we did the load balancer stuff. Okay, and you need to maintain the backups. Okay, you need to we have created the AMIs, right? Every day we are creating AMI or snapshot. You need to do it every day, and you need to maintain that completely. So uh, for us to make our lives happy, and make our tasks easier, what AWS is doing is, it is managing the whole the backend infrastructure stuff, and it's giving only the database to use. Okay, so that means whatever databases here we are creating, those are managed by RDS. You won't have access to the backend, like how we have logged into the Linux machine or Windows machine. You won't be able to log into any of these databases, but you will get an endpoint, and that endpoint, if you'll put it in a SQL developer or something like that, you can connect to the database and you can run your queries. Either you can run queries there, or there is also option called query editor. You can run the queries here. You need to just select the database and you can run the queries here. Okay, so when you say create database, see, either you can create a standard way and easy way. Standard way, it will ask you more configuration. Easy way, it will ask you less configuration. Okay, so if you see, these are the types. See, this question you will get, what are the types of RDS databases? What are the types of databases services provided by RDS? Amazon Aurora, MySQL, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, and PostgreSQL. Remember these things. These are the 6 things it is giving to us. Okay. You can create any of these. Example, Oracle. Okay. Let's take Oracle. Okay. If you can see Oracle, it's asking you whether you want to go to enterprise or see, all these softwares are not free. They are like very expensive. Okay. If it's enterprise one, see Oracle standard, Oracle, all these things are expensive. So here if you say bring your own license, that means you have already bought some license on Oracle and you can attach to it. But if you can see, this is enterprise version. But if you go to standard one, you will have an option that you can select license included. That means AWS will buy license for you and you can use that license, shared license. Okay. And after that, which version you need in database, you will have versions, right? You need to select which version you need, and then you will use, if you want production, it is mandatory you need to use for multi availability zone. I'll use dev, that I can use only in one availability zone. And you can see the database identifier. That means just it's asking you to put some name. You can say like test database also, test database also. After that, credential. So I told you, right, you can connect, you can take that endpoint and you can connect to the dbver. For you to connect to the dbver, you need to have credentials, right? So those are the credentials you will be creating here. Where is it? Yeah, credential setting. Yeah, those are the credential. That means the username is admin and you will be giving some password. Let me put like auto generated password. It is auto generated. Once it is created, it will show it to you. And here, like in EC2 instance, how we are selecting the T2 large or T2 micro, in the same way for database, there is a different database types, which are db.m.x large or db dot. So it starts before, if it says db.m, that's a database instance types. So you can select any of this. You can go to the smaller one also, and then you can see the storage, how much of database storage you need, 20 GB, 100 GB, 500 GB, how much you want, you can increase it. Okay. You can increase and see here auto scaling. Before we have done all the auto scaling manually, lot of stuff, right? Launch configuration, everything. Here just one switch, it's doing storage auto scaling. Whenever the storage is filled, it is automatically increasing it. How much is threshold? We are putting 1000 only, like how previously we said, like 3 instances, pin 3 instances, something like that. Here it is saying 20. Whenever it is filled, almost it is getting filled, add the database automatically, the storage automatically, until how much you will go, until 1000 GB you will go. Okay. And next, the connectivity again, I told you, right, all the infrastructure should have this network connectivity. Whatever we have discussed, VPC, you can select which VPC. We have Virtu VPC and default VPC. You can select the VPC and subnets also we have seen, right? Okay. If you select Virtu one, you will get subnets. If you can see here, okay, it's saying subnet group. For a database, it's different. It will have subnet group. You can just leave it as default so that it will create a subnet group for you. But if not, you can go out and you can create a subnet group. On your left panel, you will have an option to create subnet group. Here you click it and you can just create it. Just giving the name should be enough. There is no much of an problem to you. So these are the security groups, right? You can select as many as security groups, not as many. Five is a max, I think. You can create it. Availability zone, do you have any preference? You can say, yeah, I need a preference here. And what does it do? And for authentication, see, it says here, it's giving you how much cost it is. It will the cost of this is $322. Okay. I think this is monthly estimation. Okay. When you create it, you will create the database. The database will take long time. It will take 20 minutes to create. But once it is created, it is very much similar to EC2 instance. It will show you the whatever and databases you have, it will show you here. It will show you the engine and all the stuff. So this is about RDS, just the database. Okay. In the same way, other than our database, this one we have DynamoDB. Okay. So DynamoDB is nothing but NoSQL database. You will get you'll get questions on this one. Okay. What is the NoSQL database services provided by AWS? Select DynamoDB. This is also very much similar to RDS. When you create it, you can create the same type of databases. See, all these things are very, you can just directly give the table name and the primary key. So if I go in it, it will be too much for you. So basically, if you know about database, in the databases you will have schemas and tables. Okay, here even the database also, like previously we were creating database, even that database also is like NoSQL database, right? So you won't have anything, you can directly create tables in it. So that is the DynamoDB stuff. And one more thing in RDS is, you will get this question on RDS. Backups of RDSs are automatic. Okay. Previously, we used to either you can manually create the database. What is it? Backup. But what I was trying to say is automated backups. So what a RDS is providing you is, because I told you everything is done by them, so it will automatically take backup every day for you, every day, automatically. There is no option that you can stop it, because they are managing it. If something goes wrong, you will have some backup of it, and you can recreate the database from the backup, so that they won't be uh, pointed out. So that is RDS. Okay, RDS, you understood, right? RDS is database stuff. Okay, and the third topic today is Lambda. So in cloud, we are getting very new advanced stuff, which we can call it as serverless. Okay, serverless is very new technology. Not new technology, basically from so many years it is there, but they call this with different fancy names. Okay, serverless technology. So whenever we speak about serverless, that means, see, to run your Java code, to run your Python code, to run any of your applications, to run anything, you need some server, right? As I told you, for Maggie, you need, if you want to cook Maggie, if you want to do anything, you need those bowls. So those bowls are nothing but server. Okay. So without the server, if you are able to cook your Maggie and if you are able to eat your Maggie, that is serverless. Okay. In Lambda function and Elastic Beanstalk, those are the two things where you won't have any, see, run code without thinking about servers. That means there won't be any servers. You can directly run your code. Create a function. Okay. And you can select what type of code you want, Java, Python, Ruby, whatever you can select, it. And when you create a function, it will ask you to put your code and you can run that code. And you don't need to worry about any servers. So that is the serverless technology. Nothing in it. Here in Lambda function, we are only creating, they're in, or are they still waiting in the lobby? Okay. So in the Lambda function, I showed you right just now, in the Lambda functions, it will be only the code you will be running, the code to see whether the code will be ran or code will have errors or whatever you're doing. But when you take it as a web application is like how we have created previously Tomcat server. You remember, right? Tomcat server we created, and then we have added our website or like our code in it. So if you want some web server, something like that, it is Elastic Beanstalk. See, run and manage web applications. Okay, create a application. What application you'll say? I'll say like Tomcat, and I don't need anything. And you can select this platform. You will see what Tomcat. See, this is what we have done. See, the previously I told you, right? The different types of things will be there, like Windows Server, Core Server. I'm saying Tomcat. Tomcat means it will create the Tomcat this thing. Simple application. Okay. I'll say like upload your code. I'll upload the source code. What is the source code I will upload? Down. Choose local file. Okay, I'll choose local file only. Okay. Index.html, we have it, right? Can you guys give me that index.html? Do anyone have saved it? Can you copy that on the chat box? Anyone? I need response. Whether you're doing, you're not doing. If you're doing, just let me know if you're doing. If you're not doing, just let me know you're not doing.
Srikanth, I'm sending.
Also,
Okay. What we'll do, just copy this thing. Okay, I have added that as index.html, right? And okay, Lambda function. I'll also show you Lambda function. Before I didn't show you, right? I'll show that one also later. But let me do this one for the Elastic Beanstalk. We have created index I. Oh, this is the one. Okay, we are selecting this one. Index.html files are uploaded successfully, and we are creating the application. So application is creating. It is installing everything. It's creating the EC2 server, and it is doing everything for you. Okay, Elastic Beanstalk bucket. Okay, creating a Tomcat environment. See here how much the AWS is simplifying us. Okay, whatever we have done previously, creating an EC2 instance and going in and creating a Tomcat application, and then in it we are writing the code. All this stuff we are doing it in 3-4 steps here itself. Basically, that is very small code, and even the application Tomcat application is small application, but generally there will be like very big application and big configurations also. Okay, for that it it will take a long time. At that point of time, if you use this, here you're not creating any server. They are only creating server in the back end. They are only creating everything for you. If you can see security group also, they are only creating. They're creating all the C. They're creating auto scaling also. They're creating. That means you whatever application it will be there, it won't be stopped. Okay, auto scaling also they're creating. High availability also they'll create. 2 instances they'll put. All that stuff they're doing it for you. And once this is done, you'll get an URL, and once you copy that URL and paste it on your browser, you will reach to your website without server. So that's a serverless technology. So here the good thing is you don't need to worry about the cost of the server running in the backend. They will only cost you when there is some traffic into that website. Okay, as many like almost thousand or 1 lakh. 1 lakh hits is free for you. Okay. It is creating CloudWatch alarms. It's creating everything. So all these things you need to do for this whole setup itself. It will take for you at least that 30 to 40 minutes to do, because here we are creating EC2, we are installing Tomcat, and we are putting our code, and then going into we are creating one more server. We are creating making it HA, and we are taking AMI of it, and we are putting it in the auto scaling group. We are creating launch configuration, and for that launch configuration, we are creating a CloudWatch alarm. Yesterday I told you CloudWatch, right? CloudWatch alarm, and then we are adding a load balancer, and we are putting all these two instances on back of it. So whatever we have done, all these things are it's shown here. You can see it, right? You can relate. You can how much time it will take for you to do this manually. So listeners, you have created listeners, right? Okay. So comments, executed comments. That means inside they have executed the comments. Successful 0, failed 1. Okay. There is something failed. Let's see what that is. So this is the URL you can reach to that. Right now it's bad gateway because there was some error. What happened? Hmm. Still pending. Create environment operation is complete but with an error. For more information, see troubleshoot. Command failed. Run output engine execute as encountered. Your source bundle has issues. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. I got it.
Shrikant, I think the index.html file, there was an extra K in that file.
Okay. That's fine. But what is it doing is this thing. Yeah, initially I told, right, it will ask you to write that name. So we need to give that name to delete it. What? Enter the name of the application to confirm. Okay, instance deployment successfully completed. Let's see if okay, so it says okay, right? If you will click this URL, see, this is the configuration. So you're able to get to the Tomcat stuff. Here it will say how to build and deploy manager. And it will get to this one. It's going to some other different page, but so that is how we create the applications with Elastic Beanstalk, which is serverless. Let's delete this one also. And one more thing, when you do this right, it will create the actual servers here, but you won't do it. If you can see, test environment, it is getting from there, and you can also see load balancer name test environment, which is coming from the test one, which is coming from Beanstalk. You can see auto scaling group also created. This is from Beanstalk.
Srikanth, does it automatically stop running the instance?
Now, if you delete it, it will come again, and it's very much similar to auto scaling only. If you want to delete it, you need to delete it here. But it is completely automatic, completely auto scaling. Everything is completely automatic.
One question. So when is this preferred over like when we do it everything manually? Because here nothing is in
Yeah, if you are a developer, right, you are writing some code for only for a Tomcat application, okay, and you don't have your IT team, okay, and you don't want to worry about all this auto scaling, this stuff, that stuff. You don't want to do all these things. When you then what you do is you deploy this, you create this one, and when you open this, it is also showing you to deploy, right? If you open here, it will ask you to see here. If you upload your code here, it will automatically upload, and on the website it will come directly. That means you're only worrying about your code. You're not worrying about your or your application. You're not worrying about any of the infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
All this infrastructure is managed in the same way how our database is managed in RDS. Here, infrastructure is managed.
Okay.
Yeah. So see, if you can see the name itself also developer guide. That means only most of these things are for developers. I wanted to use.
Srikanth, what's main difference between cloud formation and elastic beam?
See, CloudFormation, you are writing the code to create all this stuff. Okay. In Elastic Beanstalk, even the Elastic Beanstalk is also created by CloudFormation only. But the CloudFormation they are writing and they are automatically creating it for you. You're just selecting and you're doing. But there you are writing. So see here, I didn't give how much the instance should be, what type of instance should be. Nothing I've given. I'm only worried about this. I just selected what application I need and I've created it. I'm only worried about my application and this thing. But CloudFormation is not like that. CloudFormation is infrastructure work. The infrastructure guy has to write that code and run it. In this scenario, you don't even need an infrastructure guy. You're a developer, you can directly go run it and put your code in it. That's it.
So no stacks are required for elastic beam, right?
No stack. There are no stacks here,
Yeah.
right? Just you create application environment. That's it. Environment means nothing but whether it's a Tomcat environment or any other environment. The environments which we create and applications are inside the environment, whatever applications you have. So those are the stuff. Okay. Okay. You're good with Elastic Beanstalk too, right?
Yes, Srikanth.
Yeah. And tomorrow there are few things to close. Like we'll talk about organization, and we'll also talk about shared responsibility. Shared responsibility is also very important for your examination. You need to know what is AWS responsibility and what is your responsibility. Okay. And when you create an organization, there will be different types of billing, like how you do the billing. So that and this will be there. And mostly for examination, we have covered almost everything for examination. And from that next day, which is which is from 4th, okay, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 5 days, we will be doing we will be actually preparing for exam. So sample questions. Okay, if you wanted to be like proactive and wanted to get try some questions to test yourself. Let me get that to you. Okay. What else we're talking about? Sorry, I just lost something. Did I stop somewhere? Am I in between something? Okay, so I said like I'll give you the website, right? Completely forgot. Multitasking side effects. Okay, okay, wait. Okay. So see, these are see, these are not dumps. These are just for you to practice questions, but those are free on outside there. This thing just for you to practice this how the exam will be. So this is for cloud practitioner. So try to practice all these exams here, all the questions here. Okay. And what we'll do is, I think how many questions there may be, like 400 or some questions in this one. Let's go to the max. Okay, it will be something around 400 or something like that. So 4 days is there, 5 days are there. So what we'll do is we'll go through 100 of them each day. Like we'll go through like 150 of them each day. So we can complete it in 2 or 3 days. In 3 days, and the next 2 days you repeat this again and again, and also go through some topics. I'll also give you one more just a class stuff with some video stuff. Go through that again. If I that is from AWS. I'll show it for you here itself. Go to AWS training. This is where you have created. See, okay, one more thing, just for the confirmation. How many of you have you registered for examination? Syed and
I have to register.
uh, who is that?
Mohammed.
Muhammad. And who else have registered already?
Can you
One.
Yeah, Yusuf.
Oh, Yusuf have also done. So Yusuf, you've done on 9th.
No, it's I think the next week, I guess. Just I have to check my calendar, but not on the 9th.
Okay. Who else? See, if you don't write this exam immediately, the chances of you passing the examination will be getting low. Okay. If you do it immediately, that is more effective. Don't think that I don't have much time, I need to prepare much. This is not IAS or IPS. It's very, very simple examination.
Yeah, I know, Srikant, but I'm traveling on that day 9th, so that's why I was.
No, 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 not for you, not for you. At least you have registered. I'm talking about others who didn't register.
Can you show how to register again? I tried yesterday but didn't follow through.
I have registered Shrikant on 9th.
Is it Payal?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but I don't know because I have to go through some of the things.
Yeah, no, that is fine. See, don't worry. We have gone through basics now. Once we get through all the questions, right, then you'll get more confidence. Okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we need to practice and we need to get those you know question answers that you have. Then we can get confidence.
Yeah. See here, if you can see, AWS training gets certified, schedule an examination, schedule an examination, schedule your exam, and here you can sign in here. Uh, so this is completely a different account for you than the AWS account stuff. You need to register for this thing. You can sign into it and then you can select what dates and what examination you want it.
Okay.
Okay, and this is here. Let me go back.
Shrikant, the other day you were asking me about the exam 2020, but actually I went back and looked at the exam. It's February 2021. So it's a new
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Then for that question, you need to add gateway also.
gateway. Yeah.
But most probably it will be the options, right? If there is no gateway, you can ignore. But if it is gateway, you need to select that. You will get like multiple choices there.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. And here, see when you open the same thing certification here, you can see training and certifications, right? Go through your training and certifications here, and you can go for prepare for certifications. And wait, there will be somewhere you can get digital. Mm. Maybe get trained by topics. Yeah, this is where you're going into. Yeah, learn by role. Okay, now cloud practitioner. Yeah, if you can see free digital training here, go to the free digital training. Yeah, see, this is a free course here. I'm copying this here. Even this course, if you can do it quickly, it won't take much time. It will take like 3 or 4 hours, I think so. It will give, yeah, it says 6 hours, right? But if it says 6 hours, it takes only 3 or 4 hours. That's it. Just sit completely and complete this stuff. If at all I have missed any of the topics in this, mostly we have cleared. Security, we have gone through IAM, multi-factor authentication, monitoring, we have gone through CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Trusted Advisor, we have gone through pricing, we have gone through AWS free pricing, and budget cost explorer also we have done, and price calculator, we have done the price calculators too, support plans also we have done. And this is what we will be covering, organization and consolidated billing, I told you, right, tomorrow. And that we have done in the migrations, cloud adaptability. For the migrations we have not done much, but it would be too much for you. Give 1 second. And the storages, okay, storages is one thing we need to cover. The EBS and S3 EFS, we have not done much on this three. Tomorrow, remind me, we need to do this one. It's not very tough, just a very small topic. That's a small topic.
Yeah. Second,
RDS.
I was going through the exam and going to the some of the dumps, and they are asking about the glaciers.
Yeah, S3 glacier. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we will go through. That's what I was saying. Okay. And we have gone through VPN. We have gone through the hybrid deploy, the public and private networks, basic concepts of networking. We have gone through just now, just today. And reliability. We have gone through global infrastructure. We have gone through availability zones. We have gone through edge locations. Compare different methods of providing AWS methods and compute cloud. We have gone through EC2, Amazon EC2. We have gone through auto scaling. We have gone through load balancing. We have gone through ELB. ELB is nothing but CLB, guys. Okay. The SNS topic will cover this one. This is also a very small topic. Just it will send us notifications. That's it. So this one will cover that too. Remind me tomorrow. And pay as you go model is done. Difference between demand on demand and on demand stuff. See, I told you, right, on demand and spot instances, that stuff. Benefits of AWS is also done. So if you do this course properly, you can also just quickly recap all the stuff what we have done, and if there is something I missed also, you can close it here, and then we can discuss more when we do our examination questions. Okay, sounds good. And guys, AWS is lot. Okay, there are 140 services we have done. We have only discussed about core services, which are RDS. Okay, EC2, S3, EBS, load balancing, and Elastic Beanstalk, Cloud Formation, Lambda function. So these are the core services. Okay, still EMR, Redshift are also little core, but those are little advanced, so they won't asking you those questions. But AWS is a lot, but for you for this examination, this would be enough, and for you to boost confidence on AWS, this should be more than enough. If you practice again and again and again, it would be more than enough for you to get certified. Once you get certified, that's your first step in the cloud. Okay, then you can move, and you can also talk to vendors about these technologies, and it would be helpful for you. Okay, so we have our agenda for the next 4 or 5 days. We will go through. Okay, let us close the session for today.
Can you share these links on WhatsApp group? Because I think these are on chat.